Good morning. It's March 23rd, 2016 at 7:12 in the morning, and I'm still working on Chapter 5. Right here, I'm on page, let's see, 112 of Chapter 5. I want to show the output, and then I'll show the code really quick because the output works, but it's got a flaw. So here, my path is my desktop, this folder called Java Files Chapter 5. Go in here. All of these classes right here are what I'm using. I'm using the game.java, gamehelper.java, and simple.com.java. And the game has the execution statement in it. So that's what I'm going to compile and run. It's the public static void main string args execution statement. So that's what I'm going to compile and run to get this whole thing going. So java c game.java. It's going to compile cleanly because I tested it already. And then I'm going to run it by just typing java game enter. Okay, so enter a number 1, miss. Enter a number 2, miss. Enter number 3, hit. Now this is the flaw. Let's say I put 3 again. It's giving me another hit, 3 again. Okay, so it's letting me guess the same number. And since number 3 is actually a hit, it's probably, since 1 and 2 are a miss, it's 3, 4, and 5. That's the sequence for the .com, kind of like Battleship, that it would take to kill the battleship, or in this case, the .com. So we do have a flaw in our code, and we will address that in the future. Let me go on ahead and exit out of here. Go over the code real quick. The code that has a flaw, so let me open up all my files really quick. I did it with Notepad, all my Java files. Again, the class files are for the computer to read, not for me to type. Okay, so really quickly, simple.com, Java, game helper, and game. Let me do the simple.com code first. Public class simple.com. Int array location cells. Int number of hits equals 0. Here's our setter right here. Public void set location cells. Int array lokes. Location cells equals lokes. And then from here to here we have a method. So we have two methods in simple.com. A setter to set the location cells, and this public string check yourself, and it's got a parameter. It's got to be a string data type, and we gave it the variable string guess, string guess. So inside this method we have int guess equals integer.parseInt, and the parameter string guess. String result equals miss. We have a for loop for int cell in location cells. If guess equals cell, result equals hit. Then we're going to increment number of hits. So int num of hits plus plus increments it up. It starts off at 0, and here it's going to turn into 1 if the guess is equal to the cell. Then we're going to break out of the loop if it's a hit. If it's not a hit, if this is false, then it breaks, it ignores all this stuff and goes straight down to here. If num of hits is equal to location cells dot length, which means we've reached the number of array elements in the array, then the value of result, see the value of result right here is the word miss. But if we guess the number of cells correctly that belong in the array, which like I said is 3 cells or 3 elements of the array, then we're going to change the value of result to the word kill, which is what's happening with our output. Our only problem is we can put the same number in 3 times, and it's counting that as a hit each time, and we don't want to do that. Once we find a hit, we want to take that number out of the equation. We don't want it to keep adding the same number over and over again because we're not getting the values of the other two cells that are actually in the sequence array, the sequence of the array, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, like that. But anyhow, after this if condition, if we get a kill, then we've got your system.out.println result. Whatever the value of result is, it's going to either be miss, hit, or kill, and then return result. There's the end of the method check yourself and the end of the classsimple.com. Alright, so now let's go to the game.java. I could go to the game helper first. Here they gave us the ready bake code, and they started off with import java.io. The asterisk means everything. So we're importing everything from the java.io, which I believe is input output. And the class here, public class game helper. And the only thing that game helper does is it has one method, and it's this whole method right here. And this has to do with getting the user input. In the command prompt, the user actually gets to put a guess in. The thing that I did before this, we programmed in our code a fake user guess. This time the user actually gets to plug something in. So this game helper starts off this single method, public string get user input. It's got a parameter string prompt. Then we create string input line equals null. System.out.print, we're going to print the words prompt plus a space. Actually, no, whatever it's going to print out the value of this parameter prompt, which is what the user is going to type in. Then we've got a try catch statement right here. So try buffered reader is, and this is the name of a variable. It's not part of a statement like an English, this is a box. No, I could change this to buffered reader BF, and that would be the name of the buffered reader, but in this case the book gave us IS. Buffered reader IS equals new buffered reader, and then there's a parameter there, new input stream reader, and then you've got system.in inside that parentheses. The next statement right here, input line equals is.readLine. Again, if I would have changed this IS to BF for buffered reader, then this would be BF.readLine. If we've got an if condition, if input line dot length is equal to 0, return null. Alright, so curious about that. I never tried to put the digit 0 in there. So let me see. Let me go to my run command prompt. Let me get back and do what I did earlier. Let me get to my desktop. So CD means change directory. CD desktop. Then I also want to go inside this folder right here. So I have to do CD for change directory to Java files, chapter 5, enter. dir to look in the directory. Again, I wanted to remind myself the name of what I'm going to run, and it's game.java. So Java C Java C game.java, enter. Java game, enter. Enter a number. Now let me put 0. If input line.length is 0, return null. Oh, the length, not the value. I'm sorry, that was my mistake. That was my assumption. Okay, if the length is 0, so let me just hit enter and see what happens. There we go. So if the length of that input is nothing, if you put nothing and just hit enter, this is the exception that you get. Exception in thread main, java.lang.number format exception, null. Return null, null. See, and then it says java.lang.integer.parseInt unknown source. I didn't type anything. The user, me at this time, didn't type anything, so it's unknown source, so it's null. So they couldn't check a value. Okay, so return null, and then you've got this catch, IO exception E, system.println, IO exception plus E plus whatever the error is. And return input line. So that's the whole GameHelper.java. A single method that allows us to type something in here. So let me actually go here and do it one more time. Go up, up, enter, down, enter, enter number 1, miss, enter number 2, hit, enter number 3, hit, 4, kill. You took 4 guesses. This is how it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to let me say if 2 is a hit, 3 is a hit, 4 is a hit. It's not supposed to let me type in 2 3 times and then say we have a kill. This also shows you how many guesses you took to actually get a final kill, but this is an appropriate kill because it's a sequence of 3 numbers, 2 3 4. 2 2 2 and telling me a kill, that's an error in the program, which we'll address next time. So I showed you the code for the simple.com. I showed you the game helper code. Now let me show you the game.java code. This is the one that has the public static void main string args execution statement. And here I've got plenty of notes from the book. So here it says make a variable to track how many guesses the user makes. Int num of guesses equals 0. We're starting off with 0. Now here, this is a special class we wrote that has the method for getting user input. For now, pretend it's part of Java. So this is a special class we wrote, which is this game helper with the import java.io, this whole thing with a buffered reader and read line, input, stream reader, system in stuff. We are creating an object of that class. So the class's name is game helper, and this is the little thing that I gave it, this is the little name I gave it, the object of that class, mehelp, equals new game helper. So game helper mehelp equals new game helper. Now here, make the .com object. That's an object of this, simple.com. So here we use the name of that class, simple.com, and give it a little name. In this case, I called it Dottie. Simple.com Dottie equals new simple.com. So with this line right here, we're creating an object of the game helper class so that we can access this method. And here, we are creating an object called Dottie here. This is an object called mehelp. This is an object called Dottie of the simple.com class so that we can use this setter method here and this string check yourself method here. Alright, so the next, make a random number for the first cell and use it to make the cell locations array. So this is code under the covers that the user doesn't see. Starting right here. Int random number equals int math.random times 5. That's going to create a random number. And if we wanted to see what the random number was, what I could do is, well, I'll hold on to that thought. I'll finish this code and then I'll come back to that thought real quick. This is going to create a random number. Then right here, int array locations equals whatever the random number was that this line of code created, we are going to put the value of that here, and then we're going to put a comma and the value of that, whatever that value was, plus 1. So if this random number was 3, then this random number will be random number plus 1, which would make it 4. And this would be random number plus 2, which would make it 5. The value would be 5. So you would have, at that point, 3 here, 4 here, 5 here. And this is an array called locations. And in these curly braces, we're actually giving it 3, 4, 5, 3 elements in sequence of this array. Okay, here, give the .com its locations. So here we're using that dotty that we created up here of the simple.com object of this class, and we're calling the set location cells method of here. This set location cells right here method, the setter, we're using that. So dotty.setLocationCells, and we're putting in the value of locations that we just created up here. This is an array called locations, and like I said, for an example, I said maybe this might be 3, 4, 5. So that's what this line of code does right here. Then we have make a Boolean variable to track whether the game is still alive to use in the while loop test, and repeat while the game is still alive. So here we're creating a Boolean variable, and we gave it the name of isAlive, and we set its initial value to true. That means that when the game starts, it's alive. Then we have this while condition. While isAlive is equal to true, well, initially it starts off as true, so when you get to this while loop, it is true, so it's going to go further. Here this says get user input string, and this is how we're going to get the user input string. String s equals mehelp. Again, that mehelp is what I created up here. Mehelp is going to use the game helper class. It's going to use this get user input method. So string s equals mehelp.getUserInput, and we're going to put output this string, enter a number. See, when this one iteration of the while loop says enter a number, then we entered a number, and then it gave us a value. Miss, hit, kill. It changed the value of result to these different words. Next we have ask Dotty to check the guess. Okay, so when we hit enter a number, if we guess 1, we're asking Dotty to use the check yourself method to see if it's a miss, hit, or a kill. So string result equals Dotty.checkYourself guess, and here we created the guess variable. The next thing we do is increment the guess count, number of guesses plus plus. Again, number of guesses started off as 0. So this is going to automatically change that value of the value of number of guesses variable is going to go from 0 to 1 right there. The first iteration of the while loop, it's going to turn into 1. This here is a question that's saying, well, was it a kill? If so, set isAlive for false. It shouldn't be for false. It'd be set alive to false. That makes more sense. If so, set isAlive to false, so we won't re-enter the loop. See, up here, this condition, once we set isAlive to false, then when it comes back up here to do the while loop again and test that condition, once isAlive is false, it's going to ignore this whole thing. It's not going to do the while loop again. And that's where this if statement comes in. If result.equals kill, once the value of the variable called result, it has a value of the word kill, right here we're setting isAlive to false. We're setting it to false, so when it comes back up here to test the while loop again, it will be false. This condition in the parentheses will not be true anymore, so then we're bumping right out of the while loop. Then we have system.out.println. You took whatever the value of number of guesses is, 3, 4, 5, 12, however long it took for you to guess the numbers in that values in that array. You took the value of that plus the word guesses, which is what you see down here. You took 4 guesses. If this if result does not equal kill, let's say it just equals miss or equals hit, then since that's a condition, if that condition is false, then all this is not going to execute. It's going to wind up jumping to the bottom of the if statement, and then it's going to go here and it's going to jump back up to the while. And as long as is alive is true, it's going to just do this whole thing again, and then it's going to test this again. So once result value is kill, then is alive is false. It'll go up here and it'll test it. Is alive will not be true, so then we'll be done. We'll be done with the program. But like I said, we have a problem that we have to address, and I'll show you one more time by running this. Enter a number 1. It's a hit. Say the same number. Hit. Say the same number. Kill. You took 3 guesses. It's not how it's supposed to work. So we'll fix that next time.